Good evening. Welcome to another Verbling class. Tonight's class is on project management, specifically dealing with risk. Project risk management is a very important subject in managing projects. It includes many processes. One of them is obviously planning. We need to conduct some sort of risk management planning. There's the identification phase where we identify risks. We perform some sort of analysis to determine what is the probability of a risk event occurring, what is the impact of a risk event, and coming up with some sort of matrix so we can combine both the probability and the impact in a way that we can score and rank all our risks in terms of those that have the greatest probability and impact in coming up with a plan. So it's not enough to just determine which risks are bad, but we need a plan. And we also need to be able to keep an eye on these risk events or the probability that they may come true. The more likelihood they are, the more we need to spend time on the mitigation plan. Do we accept the risk? Do we transfer it? These are all very, very important. Now, according to the PMI, the Project Management Institute, if you're following the PMP, PMBOK, which is the body of knowledge, there are 3 processes that I'd like us to focus on that are related to the project risk management process. Actually, you know what? There are actually more than that. I'm going to cover off 6 today. The first one is to plan project risk management. As I mentioned earlier, this is the process of defining how to conduct risk management activities for a project. Once we've done that, we identify the risks. We determine which risks may affect the project and document their characteristics. Then, of course, we perform some analysis. We first perform qualitative analysis. We prioritize the risks by assessing, combining the probability of occurrence and the impact. Then we perform a series of quantitative analysis on these risks. This is where we numerically analyze the impact. Of course, what follows next is response. Now, in the case of weather, sometimes we might just have to accept that risk. Hey, guys. Hey, guys.
Hey Simon, how are you?
That's better. I'm good. How are you?
Hello.
I'm good too. Hi Adela.
I'm fine, thanks. Hello.
Adela, it's really late. You're up late.
Yes. Today is an exception because it's very late.
I know. Well, we're going to have, well, no, we're not going to have fun today. We're going to learn a lot today and hopefully have a little bit of fun. It's project management, and I'm going to focus on project risk management. I promised we would do this last week, but I didn't do it last week because, well, I had some issues to deal with. But here tonight, we're going to focus on project risk management. Now, do you guys remember what a project is? There's only 2 of you here, so I'm not going to use a timer. When more come in, I'll go to using the timer. But does anybody remember a characteristic of what a project is?
No, a project is like a plan.
It's not a plan. It may have a plan, but it's not a plan. It's not a characteristic. Think of the definition. What would we consider a project?
It's a process.
It's not a process.
No?
It may have 52 or 47 processes, depending on your framework, but it's not a process. A project, one characteristic, is that it produces a product, service, or result. USB stick, thermos. Those are examples of products that it might produce. Yeah, it would most likely be a prototype, because once we start producing them on a regular basis, it's no longer a project, it's operational. It also has a start date and an end date. That's the difference between a project and something that is operational. And of course, a project must achieve a goal or a series of objectives. Okay, so that's what a project is. It's very important. German.
Yes.
Based on that definition, do you manage any projects?
In my work, yes, sometimes, because I have to do some task and I have a starting time and a finishing time.
Okay.
Maybe every day we have projects in our lives, mini projects.
Some of us do. Some of us always have projects in our lives. Some don't. Like if I work in a call center, I don't have projects. I just don't. It's not the nature of my job. All right, Adela, do you work on projects?
Yes, I think every year I teach. Every year is a new project, because I planning the course, the subject. I have a start, ending. I think it's a project.
Yeah, well, that's certainly one characteristic of it, right? Okay, I'm going to take my headsets off.
I have an option.
Can you guys hear me clearly still? I just like to be free. Okay. What is a risk? German, what is a risk?
Risk is when something can be wrong or with a bad result or unexpected. For example, a damage into the infrastructure, or when you make a bet and you can win or you can lose. The loss or the probability of loss is your risk.
So it's a negative thing.
Oh, it depends on who. For who. For example, for the bank, the risk is good because they can charge you an amount of this risk. But for people, most of people don't like risk.
Okay. I like risk, but I'm a project manager. Adela, what is risk?
I think when you don't have sure what is the final result.
Unsure of the final results. Why are you unsure?
You don't have clear your option of success. Maybe can be a possibility to say Herman, to win or to lose the money. You can sure to achieve the goals.
Sort of. You're closer than German, unfortunately, German. A risk is a very simple thing. Now, I'm not going to make anything up here tonight, so I'm basically going to quote and use as my reference the PMBOK. That's the Project Management Book of Knowledge. It's kind of an authority on project management. I'm certified by the PMI, which publishes the PMBOK. So risk management, it's a very important piece of project management. And according to the PMI, a project risk, is defined as an uncertain event, uncertain event or condition that if occurs, Are you ready for this part? Has either a positive or negative effect on the project's objectives. They're not negative. They certainly can be. And most people are more concerned with negative outcomes. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Simon. How are you?
Good evening. Welcome to class.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, now that I've got a bunch of you here, I'm going to have to start using my timer now so that everyone gets a fair shake. So I'm going to read this again. And I'm going to, can I share out the screen that this is on? I'll just paste it. It's from the wiki page. That's the source. I'm pasting it right now. There it is. So according to the Project Management Institute's PMBOK, risk management is one of the 10 knowledge areas in which a project manager must be competent. We don't care about that part. This is what matters. Project risk is defined by the PMI, and that's important here because we're talking about projects, as an uncertain event or condition that, if, we're talking about probability here, right? If it occurs, has a negative effect on the project's objectives. I know what you're saying. Well, teacher, it says positive. Yeah, it does. I want to draw attention to that because most people think it's only about negative potential events or conditions. I'm going to give you an example. And I'll give you guys a chance to talk. I just want to give you some information because this is very important. If you're only focused on negative conditions, you might be good at project management. You might be able to prevent your project from exceeding its budget or schedule or scope. But if you're unwilling to look at the positive risk events, then you fail to take advantage of opportunities to reduce the cost or reduce the schedule or to change the scope for the benefit of the project. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give each of you 1 minute of talk time right now, and I want to hear what you have to think about that. Do you agree with it or disagree? So German, I'll start with you. Do you agree with that statement?
I don't know. Maybe yes, in part, because it's the formal definition. But in the most part of the jobs, you can manage the risk, the bad risk, because you have to be prepared for bad things, and you need to prevent these events, even if the probabilities are very low. But a bad result could be pretty, very bad for your job, sorry, or even for the product or for the project or whatever, and you can get fired. But the risk, you can manage the risk, and some kind of risk are good because you can win money, as you said, or win time, or prepare a best schedule, or even improves the organization,
Okay.
the structure of the organization.
Okay, good. You're thinking, and that's what I want. All right, somebody who just joined us. I recognize this icon. Ah, Asma. Hello, Asma.
Hello, teacher. How are you?
Here you are. I'm good. So, Asma, we're talking about project risks, and I hope you got a chance to read the definition there.
No, I can't see, teacher.
Okay, so I'm going to skip you, and I'll come back to you last. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So take a look at the definition, because there's no sense you commenting on it unless you've read it. So I'll go to Anna. Once I'm finished with Adela, I'll come back and get your opinion.
Okay.
Anna, do you agree with that definition?
So. I think it should be defined by the ballpark figures um, related to projects. Okay, not just the uncertain. Um, no, I actually I agree with the definition. I'm sorry.
Tell me why. I'd like to hear why. Tell me why.
Because I was thinking of the ballpark figures and the possibilities of the project to go well or my gosh, negative effects as well. And then I I realized that what I was saying was exactly the same thing that was written there.
Good. And Anna, one thing you're alluding to is what we call analysis. I'm going to get to that shortly, but I'm just taking it slowly because there's a lot of vocabulary here. And remember, this is an English class, not a project management class. So my purpose here is to introduce vocabulary and some project management methodology. Okay, thank you, Anna. Next we have Ahmed. Hello, Ahmed.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Ahmed, do you agree with that definition of risk?
Yeah, I think I agree.
Why? Why do you?
Because I'm working with projects, and I think if any occasion that has not been prepared previously could happen and affect your project, because even if you are not preparing for everything well, yeah, I think you will lose a lot for your project. So I think everything in the project shall be going according to a schedule, and every step in the project should be revised well and be arranged well.
Okay, thank you. Now, I like what you had to say, but you didn't touch on the risk definition as much, and we'll go find out a little bit more about why that's important in a minute. And I'm going to have some more conversation. There's going to be less of me talking and more of you guys talking shortly. Oh, and by the way, guys, I do have another class immediately after this. It's a conversation class. Okay, and what is my topic? I forgot. I wrote it down, though. Let me see. Oh, the biggest source of pollution. And I did this before, but oh, I've got something really exciting to share with you guys if you attend that class. You probably may not be aware of this, and it'll blow your minds. Okay, so thank you, Ahmed. Adela, do you agree with that vocabulary defining risk?
Maybe it's a little complicated, and I don't agree with the vocabulary used for this definition. For me, because it's a little abstract, don't concrete the events. So, for example, I think external. I think the risk is defined for external things.
You try to be specific here because you're waffling. I need. Why are you having reservation?
I think it's a definition a little complicated or not clear for me.
Okay.
For me, I think.
And you see, what's important here, and this is why I'm going to get into this, what's important, it's a very simple definition, and I love that simplicity. The analysis and identification is a complex process. But it's important that we recognize both positive and negative. Now, Asma's had a chance to read it, so I want Asma to have a chance to comment before I give you guys an example of a risk that could be taken positive or negative. Go ahead, Asma.
Yes, for me the definition it's clear or not clear. I think that it's reasonable because when I see here, it's uncertain event.
Yep.
And it has both a positive and negative effect. But for me, maybe I can't connect it very well with the project management. But if I take the example, for example, if I take the example, sorry, the French sometimes influence. Okay, if I take the example of selling stocks, okay. So, for example, sometimes if we take the risk to sell stocks in a certain time and we give order to sell it, maybe it will be maybe it will has a positive effect or a negative effect.
Not the best approach because we can't really put that into a project, right? So
yeah, so that's why I said I can't connect it because I don't know.
Right, so let me give you an example. That's what I'm going to do right now. I've used this example before, and it's a very good one. We all know what Wi-Fi is, right? That's how we connect to the internet on our smartphones, on our computers. Okay, so we all have one of these at home. It's an internet router. However, when you're a large company, you will have something much more complicated than this because they all have to talk to each other. We call them access points. Right? They're essentially routers. So I was on a project where I had to install about 300 of these. I had a budget, that wasn't a problem, but I had a date constraint. I was told I needed to have this installed before the end of the year. This was October. I had to find somebody to do the work, and I had to go to market. I couldn't pick somebody. So I had to write a document going to market, and then companies bid on it, and the lowest price won. So I knew that the date was a constraint, and I knew that it was a very tight timeline. What was the probability that I would miss that date? Well, I had to look into it. So I identified as a risk that we might not meet the schedule. And I identified reasons for it. I said, we might not get a good vendor. We might have problems with procurement. It might take longer than expected. We could have problems with staff because we have very sensitive areas and I might not be able to get in there. So because it was very political, I identified this risk as a high probability that it would occur, that we wouldn't meet the schedule. 2 weeks into the project, I realized that we were ahead of schedule by a significant amount. We were about 4 weeks ahead, or 2 weeks ahead of where we should have been. That was good news. Looking at my risks, I saw that there was a greater probability that we'd get the project completed earlier. So, what did I do? Nothing? Well, no, because this is now a positive risk. So what can you do when you have a positive risk? Well, you want to maximize it, right? In this case, schedule is very important. So I went to my sponsor and I said, for an extra $20,000, I can get this project completed 1 month earlier. And he said, do it. So that's an example of a positive risk. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I think why do you call positive risk as a risk? I think it's just a good thing. Why do you call it as a risk?
Well, because, here's my easy answer, the Project Management Institute defines a risk that way. We always think of it as being negative. It's an uncertain event or condition. And here's the important part. Don't analyze. Just know that when it comes to project management, a risk can be positive or negative. That's all. We're not here to debate why it's written that way. It just is. Okay?
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Because I'm the same way as you. I'm thinking like, well, does this make sense? Well, we know it is that way, so we just have to think that way. All right. I'm going to share out my screen here because I have a presentation here about project risk management. But I'm not going to read it all to you because, like I promised you guys, I want you guys to talk. So what I would like to do is I want to give you 3 minutes of talk time, and I'm going to pair Shan with Asma. And what I want you guys to talk about are the projects that you've worked on and to talk about risks. How do you deal with risks? Okay? While you guys are talking, I'm going to advance the slides so you can see more vocabulary. Okay?
Okay.
All right, guys, go ahead, please.
Hello, Asma. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. What about you?
Hey, I'm doing really good. So could you remember any project and you have worked on and you just reduce the risk to take some initiative?
Your question is very difficult because
can I repeat it?
No. Means
Okay.
yeah, I get the question, but I haven't worked with the project yet, so that's why maybe I can't define exactly the risk. But I don't know, for example, if working on a report is considered as a project. So I don't know because yeah, we have I have a deadline and but I don't know if it is considered as a project or no.
We can talk in general, like we can consider anything as a project. Like,
okay, maybe I will ask you the same question. So
yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
maybe then we can talk about and discuss. Yeah, did you work on a project, or have you ever worked on a project?
my work just is I'm just working in a IT project, IT company, so where I have to just work a different kind of projects. So for instance, I can refer one project where we have to deliver in a short period of time. Not because of the requirement was just like that, and because at the initial stage, requirement was not very clear, and uh, uh, it was allocated to the different group, and they somehow just not able to execute it properly. So finally, when came to our team, and we only got hardly 5 days or something. So at that time, yeah.
Yeah. So my question, could you identify your risks on working with those type of projects that you told me?
The first is if you want to reduce the risk, you have to very clear about the requirement. This is the thumb rule. Then comes from to the execution. During executions, you need to convey the communication very properly. Whatever the challenges you are facing, immediately you have to convey to your project manager, and project manager convey to the stakeholder. And if there is any major step need to be taken care, or that should be done very immediately.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I think those are the steps would be very helpful, reducing the risk.
Yeah, but you talk about steps, so I didn't means I can't or you didn't mention the risk in term, I don't know, of deadline, or you talked about steps, what do you do and how do you deal with your project, but you didn't I don't know what type of risks you face.
Yeah, but we see this is a general kind of scenario. When you are starting a project, if you don't know very clearly what you have to deliver exactly,
Mm-hmm.
you're just gonna deliver something wrong. That
Let
can
me
be
let me speak in there.
applied. Yeah.
You've only got a second left, but
Mhm.
you do know what you're going to deliver when you start a project because you have a project charter. And a project charter is really what starts off a project. So what you might be talking about is some preliminary work you might do prior to that, but once the project has started, you've got a project charter, you know what you have to deliver. But these two slides, guys, these are important. So first we have to identify, or we have to plan, right? This is the process of defining how we're going to conduct risk management. And Asma, a lot of questions you're asking is, well, what is a risk and what are we concerned about? We kind of talk about this in the planning. Then we brainstorm, we identify risks as a group, as a team. As Shan said, by meeting key stakeholders, we identify and validate these risks. Then we perform analysis, both qualitative and quantitative. Once we've done all our planning and we're kind of happy with the math we've used or the guesses we've taken, we have a response for each one should a risk event occur. And then, of course, we monitor and control. Now, one other thing I'd like to add, Shan, when it comes to monitoring risk, we don't just do it in the execution, we do it throughout the project. But you're right, during execution is when we have to be most careful.
Yeah.
Okay? But if we don't catch potential risks early, we could get in trouble. All right, thank you guys. All right, Anna and Ahmed, it's your turn. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Hi, Ahmed.
Hello.
Have you ever worked on a project?
Yeah, I have worked with many projects, and I think the main risk that I have faced in most of the project is the time, and also timing is very important because I'm working with power plants. So we have many contractors and we have to arrange with them. So any delay with only one contractor can impact the whole project. So
Okay. Which
okay.
kinds of power plants do you work with?
It's a kind of vapor power plants. We depend on water to produce electricity. Yeah.
And could you be a bit more specific about the deadlines and how do you manage the time? And which kinds of risks do you take?
Previously, before starting the project, the ministry asks us to build a new power plant and they give us an end date for this project because and if we didn't finish the project at this deadline, we will have electricity shortage in our country, so we have to meet the schedule as we can.
All right.
And what about you? Have you ever worked with projects?
A lot of them, but I work in the healthy field, and my projects are related to figures, you know, um, rates of cavities and stuff like that. The last one is demanding from the city hall. Uh, the rates of hospitalizations is about 21.08% in my town,
Mhm.
and it would be avoided because some of those hospitalizations are due to problems that she could have been prevented in the health basic units, you know. And then we were working on some samples.
Thank you.
Okay.
I hate to cut you off, but I have to keep the time. Sometimes I'll let you guys go over a little bit, but I really need to hold that time, unfortunately. Okay, so well done. Now, obviously we have Adela left, but nobody to pair Adela up with. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you all guess a number from 1 to 10, and I'm going to stop sharing. There we go, so you can see me. I'm going to get a number from 1 to 10, and where can I write it down? Do I have a pen? I'm so yeah, I don't have a pen, so I'm going to use my... Oh, I do! I have a pen! How amazing! Right, so I'm going to write down, there's nothing on the back here, I'm going to write down a number from 1 to 10, and whoever gets the closest to that number will have 3 minutes with Adela, and then we're going to try something try something different on the next round. So please, using the group chat, type a number from 1 to 10. You only get one choice, or one chance. I'm sorry. I see 9 from Anna, 5 from Asma, 7 from Ahmed, waiting for Shan, 4 from Shan, and who else am I missing here? Oh, of course, Adela won't vote. Exactly. All right, so the number is 10. So, who had Anna? You're closest. You had 9. So Anna and Adela, go ahead, guys. You have 3 minutes. Once you're done, we're going to do a bit of reading. We're going to go over these different processes. Go ahead, please, ladies.
Hello, Adela.
Hello, Anna. Projects is a little complicated for me because it's not normal. I don't do project every a lot, but I say before, for me each course is a new project.
Adela,
Yes.
if you allow me to give you my humble opinion, you work on projects. You have to prepare the curriculum for the students. You have to work on evaluations, stuff, all those things. Those are projects, and I bet you've done a lot as a teacher.
For me, the risk in the project every year can be external, can be on the class at the school, no? Because each year the students are different, and maybe it's not possible to have same success, or I have a risk, no, about student. I have a risk about a strike or something, problems, law, etc.
Yes, exactly. So when you plan a curriculum, to have a strike and to have to stop the classes and things like that are risks that you are
Yes.
taking. Uh-huh.
And
All
after
right.
the possibility, I have have a disease or broke a leg or maybe an accident. No, I can teach for 1, 2, or 3 days, or I don't know. No, it's not
Oh yes, it can
a
happen
possibility.
to everyone. And how do you work on those kinds of possibilities? How do you prepare the curriculum and the time that you have to teach the classes? How do you manage?
Sometimes I have a percentage about the possibilities to not finish the curriculum, and I have to the possibility to teach something I consider is not very important, to delay or to photocopy.
Thank you.
I have possibilities.
Thank you, Adela. Okay. Now here's what I'm going to have you do. I've got my screen shared out. And this is a bit of a reading exercise. So, Shan,
Yes.
can you see the words on the screen?
Yes, I can see.
Please read them.
Sure. Plan risk management. Careful. First point, careful and the explicit planning enhances the probability of success for the 5 other risk management processes. Planning risk management processes is important to ensure that the degree, type, and the visibility of risk management are commensurate with both the risk and the importance of the project to the organization.
Commensurate.
Commensurate.
Keep going.
Should I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. Planning is also important to provide sufficient resources and time for risk management activities, and to establish an agreed upon basis for the evaluating risks. The plan risk management process should begin as a project is conceived and should be completed early during the project planning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So again, it's very academic sounding, but simply put, you need to be careful. And you need to be very detailed enough, because it all feeds into the success of the project, not just the other 5 processes. Now, this word commensurate, what it's really saying here is that it's corresponding in size or degree, in proportion. So you need to spend the right amount of time on the planning to the degree of the project. If it's a big project with a huge budget, you need to spend more time than if it's a smaller project for maybe a couple of days or weeks.
Okay.
Okay. So planning is very important. We have to do a lot of tasks here, and this is obviously the very first process. Okay, so plan first. Next, Asma, can you read this, or is it a little too small?
Starting with introduction or project, I start with project manager.
No, just start from the top of the slide.
Okay. Identify risks. Determining which risks may affect the project and documenting their characteristics. Participants in risk identification activities can include the following: project manager, project team members, risk management team, if assigned, customers, subject matter expert from outside the project team, end users, other project managers, stakeholders, and risk management experts. While these personnel are often key participants for risk identification, all project personnel should be encouraged to identify risks.
Okay, so Asma,
Yeah.
in one word, who can be used to identify risks?
Who can use what?
In one word, who should identify risks?
The manager?
Everyone.
Oh, okay.
You gotta love this. Sometimes when you're studying for a course, they get very detailed. Well, I'm going to draw your attention to things here. Stakeholder. Does anybody know what a stakeholder is?
Yeah, is the client who gives the requirement.
It's not. It's more than that. A stakeholder is anybody that is affected by a project, both positively or negatively. So it's everyone. Look at this: project managers, team members, customers, end users. It's essentially, it can be anyone, right? This list is just to give you an idea of the different types of people, but it can be anyone or everyone. Thank you, Asma. Anna, it's your turn. Could you read this one, please?
Identify risks. Sorry, what does P2 stands for?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Identify risks is an iterative process because new risks may evolve or become known as the project progresses through its life cycle. The frequency of iteration and who participates in each cycle will vary by situation. The process should involve the project team so they can develop and maintain a sense of ownership and responsibility for the risks and associated risk response actions. Stakeholders outside the project team may provide additional objective information.
Okay, so if you were to summarize this, Anna, what would you say is one key point here? Anything?
Hold on.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, identify risks is an iterative process, but it depends on who is involved, and it varies according each kind of situation. In the process of sorry, teacher.
I apologize for that. I was getting something ready for the next class, and it started. Let me summarize that a little bit. What it's saying here is, yes, you have to do all this work to identify it, but things can change. So essentially, what works on one project may not work on another project. Okay, so things can vary by situation or the frequency at which you review things, you analyze things. So just be aware that things can change. You can identify risks one day. Next week, the landscape has changed. Thank you very much, Anna. Okay, next, Ahmed, could you read this slide, please?
Okay. Perform qualitative risk analysis. Perform qualitative risk analysis is the process of prioritizing risks for further analysis or action by assessing and commenting their probability of occurrence and impact. Organizations can improve the project's performance by focusing on high priority risks, perform a qualitative risk analysis, assesses the priority of identified risks using their relative probability or likelihood of occurrence, the corresponding impact on project objectives if the risks occur, as well as other factors such as the time frame for response and the organization's risk tolerance association with the project constraints of cost, schedule, scope, and quality.
Okay, thank you. Again, it's a rather lengthy definition. Well, not definition, it's providing you details of what really it is, so it's more than a definition. But what is the one key point here that you can give us, Ahmed? A summary point. What would one of them be?
I think qualitative risk analysis or analysis of risks, because it will or could impact cost, schedule, scope, and quality.
Sure, but it's also the prioritization of that. Which one is more important, right? And I'm not going to get into a lot of details to why some are more important than another. The important part here is we do analysis, right, to find out which is more important. Okay, last but not least, Adela, could you read this one, please?
Yes, of course. Perform qualitative risk analysis. Such assessment reflects the attitude of the project team and other stakeholders to risk. Effective assessment therefore requires explicit identification and management of the risk attitude of key participants in the perform quality risk analysis process, where this risk attitude introduces bias into the assessment of identified risk. Attention should be paid to evaluating bias and correcting for it.
Yeah, and the key word here is bias. That's why it's always good to involve multiple different types of people, because there is bias. Okay, let's turn this other light on. Okay, now I want to ask some open-ended questions. You'll see that this class, there's a lot more lecturing on my part. There's still discussion, but there's more introduction of vocabulary as well as the framework and methodology. I do this because I'm trying to teach you not just vocabulary, but some basics of project management from the point of view of the framework and methodology. Do you like this class format, or do you prefer the class format where you guys get to do most of the talking? I've only got 2 minutes, so if you guys can try to keep this short, I want to talk to each one of you. Shan, what is your thought?
Well, I have a mixed thought, like when in terms of project, it might sound a little complicated for all, but if we got something for first observe and then we can just talk about it, it will be helpful. Otherwise, we'll be falling a blank space.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the process I've used before. Thank you. Asma, your thoughts?
Please, teacher, I can or I haven't listened to your question because I lost a little bit my connection.
Oh, you can. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. Can you repeat your question?
Well, I've only got about a minute left, so here's what I'm going to ask you guys to do, because I'm teaching a class, and I got to get it set up shortly. When you guys are asked to provide review or comments at the end of the class, what I want you to do, and I want you to give me an honest review. I don't want you to just say, awesome, great class. I actually want you to tell me, you like this format, or you like where you get to spend more time talking. put that in the comments and let me know, okay? Because I will adjust accordingly. So, what's next? Well, we're going to talk about pollution, and we're going to talk about agriculture. Here's the main point I'm going to bring. It has been stated by one documentary that the greatest amount of pollution comes from agriculture and not automobiles. So we're going to look at this, and I'm going to give you guys some video as well. It's going to be a conversation class. So that's coming up in 5 minutes. I understand it's late for some of you, but thank you for coming tonight. Anna and others where it's late. The rest of you, I do hope to see you in 5 minutes.
Yep. Thank you. See you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye bye.